When we think of the body, many images may rise in the mind. Perhaps we imagine the steady beat of the heart, pumping life into every vessel, or the deep lungs, filling and emptying like slow waves on a shore, or the mind, hidden within the skull, weaving thoughts and dreams. Yet before all of these inner marvels lies something more familiar, more constant, and often more overlooked. It is the integumentary system, the skin, the hair, the nails, and the quiet glands that serve them. It is the boundary of the body, and also the bridge between us and the world. The word itself, integumentary, comes from the Latin integumentum, meaning a covering, and that is what this system provides, a covering that is both barrier and connection, both protector and communicator. From the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, it wraps around us in a seamless whole, giving form and shelter to everything within. It is, in fact, the largest organ system of the body. The skin alone can weigh several kilograms, and when stretched out, it covers nearly 2 square meters in the average adult, and yet it is surprisingly thin. On most parts of the body, it is only a fraction of a millimeter, while on the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, it may reach a few millimeters at most. This fine yet resilient film is all that separates the vulnerable interior from the shifting world outside. To appreciate the integumentary system is to appreciate balance. On one hand, it must act as a shield, keeping out pathogens, toxins, and excessive water loss. On the other, it must remain open and sensitive, able to feel the faintest brush of air, the warmth of sunlight, the coolness of night. It must withstand the weight of daily life, while also reflecting subtle changes in our inner state. Consider for a moment how often the skin communicates without words. A blush spreads across the cheeks, speaking of joy, shyness, or warmth. A pale face may reveal fatigue, fear, or illness. A flush of sweat may mark exertion, or the rising heat of summer. Even without our intention, the integumentary system reflects what is happening within, a mirror of the body's quiet rhythms. The skin is not only protective but also expressive. Through it, we sense the world. Touch is one of our first and most enduring ways of knowing, and it is made possible by receptors resting within the skin. Some respond to pressure, others to temperature, still others to texture or vibration. Through these signals, we encounter the world in the most immediate way. A breeze across the arm, the smoothness of polished wood, the gentle grasp of a hand, all are translated into sensation by the integumentary system. And yet, for all its surface familiarity, the system extends inward to the level of cells. Within the epidermis are keratinocytes, which produce keratin to strengthen the skin. Melanocytes, which create melanin, give the skin its varied tones and protect against the sun's ultraviolet rays. Langerhans cells patrol for pathogens, like quiet sentinels of the immune system. Merkel cells, delicate and specialized, help us perceive fine touch. Together they form a community, each with a role, each contributing to the balance of the whole. This collaboration extends far beyond the skin itself. The integumentary system works in partnership with nearly every other system of the body. With the nervous system, it allows sensation to be carried inward. With the circulatory system, it helps regulate temperature by widening or narrowing blood vessels near the surface. With the immune system, it forms the first barrier against invasion. Even with the endocrine system, it interacts, as certain hormones influence the growth of hair, the production of oils, or the thickness of skin. Imagine standing in a quiet landscape at dusk. The air begins to cool. Almost without awareness, your skin responds. Tiny muscles contract, raising fine hairs into goosebumps. Blood vessels near the surface narrow, conserving warmth in the core. If the chill deepens, muscles beneath the skin begin to tremble, producing heat. All of this unfolds without thought, without command. The integumentary system simply adjusts, quietly and efficiently, always maintaining balance between the body and its surroundings. And consider the reverse when heat rises in the noonday sun. Sweat forms on the skin, evaporating into the air to carry away warmth. Blood vessels widen to release heat outward, and the body cools. Again, it happens in silence, beyond awareness, a choreography of water, vessels, and pores, unfolding moment by moment. What makes the integumentary system so remarkable is not only its size or its resilience, but its constancy. It is always there, renewing, repairing, reflecting. The cells of the epidermis rise and are shed. Fibers in the dermis stretch and rebuild. The hypodermis cushions and shifts with the body's needs. At no point is the skin static. It is, rather, a living fabric in continuous renewal. Even as we sleep, the work continues. Old cells flake away. New cells press upward. Glands secrete their quiet layers of oil. Blood flows through tiny vessels, bringing nourishment, carrying away waste. The integumentary system does not rest, for life does not rest, and the balance between body and world must always be maintained. In this sense, the integumentary system is both simple and profound. Simple, because we see it every day. Profound, because it represents life's resilience. Flexible yet durable, delicate yet protective. It is the soft covering that makes contact possible, while preserving the sacred interior within. As we begin this gentle exploration, we will journey through its layers and structures. We will move from the broad surface of the skin to the quiet depths of its cells. We will see how hair emerges and grows, how nails protect and extend, how glands secrete and regulate. And through it all, we will notice the theme of harmony, a system that works not in isolation, but in concert with every other part of the body. Like the turning of soft pages in a book, our journey will move slowly, each layer building upon the last. For the integumentary system is not just an organ system, it is a reminder that life itself is both sheltered and revealed through its coverings. It is the meeting place of inner and outer, the fabric of our being, and the gentle veil through which we experience the world. 2. Layers of the skin. When we look at our skin in the mirror, or trace a fingertip across the surface of our hand, it seems like a single sheet, smooth and continuous, unbroken from head to toe. But beneath this appearance lies a delicate architecture. The skin is not one uniform covering, but rather 3 distinct layers, each with its own quiet responsibilities. These layers, the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis, form a gentle sequence, one resting upon another, working in harmony to protect and sustain us. The epidermis is the outermost layer, the one that meets the world. It is the thinnest of the 3, yet it holds the role of guardian. Imagine it as a soft yet resilient shield. At its thickest, on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, it may be only a couple of millimeters. Elsewhere, it is often thinner still, like a fine veil. Yet despite this modest thickness, the epidermis guards us against countless hazards. It prevents precious water from escaping into the dry air, shields against ultraviolet light from the sun, and stands firm against bacteria, dust, and irritants that drift invisibly around us. The cells of the epidermis are mostly keratinocytes, which are born in the deeper layers and gradually rise toward the surface. As they ascend, they change. In their earliest stage, they are plump, full of life, and nourished by the dermis below. As they journey upward, they flatten, harden, and eventually die, forming the strong outermost barrier we see. This slow migration takes about 4 weeks, so the surface of our skin is always temporary, always being renewed. The cells we see today will be gone tomorrow, brushed away by touch or by air, replaced by new ones forming quietly below. Beneath the epidermis rests the dermis, the middle layer. If the epidermis is the shield, The dermis is the strong frame that supports it. It is far thicker than the epidermis, sometimes several millimeters deep, and it is richly supplied with blood vessels and nerves. Within it run fibers of collagen and elastin, which give the skin both strength and flexibility. Collagen is like the sturdy threads of a woven fabric, while elastin provides the gentle stretch, allowing skin to bend and return to shape without tearing. The dermis is also home to many of the skin's essential structures. Hair follicles take root here, anchoring each strand of hair. Sweat glands coil gently, like tiny springs, waiting to release moisture when the body warms. Oil glands, known as sebaceous glands, secrete their subtle layer of sebum, keeping the skin supple and preventing dryness. Nerve endings are also scattered throughout the dermis, allowing us to sense pressure, temperature, and touch. Some of these nerve endings are sensitive enough to detect the weight of a grain of sand. Others are tuned to warmth or to coolness, letting us perceive the shifting air around us. In this way, the dermis serves as a rich inner landscape, busy with silent exchanges and hidden activity. Beneath both of these lies the hypodermis, also called the subcutaneous layer. Though often overlooked, it is just as vital. This deepest layer is composed mainly of fat and connective tissue. It acts as a cushion, softening the impact of pressure and blows from the outside world. It also insulates, keeping us warm in cold conditions and helping preserve body heat. At the same time, it provides a reservoir of stored energy, which the body may draw upon in times of need. The hypodermis anchors the skin to what lies beneath the muscles, the bones, the organs, ensuring that the skin moves flexibly with the body, yet remains firmly attached. Without it, the skin would not have the stability to follow the motions of our muscles, or the resilience to absorb the weight of our steps. In its quiet way, the hypodermis provides the foundation, the steady base upon which all else rests. Together, these three layers form a seamless covering. The epidermis guards, the dermis supports, the hypodermis cushions. Like layers of earth in a hillside or the concentric rings of a tree, they exist together, distinct but interdependent. None can function well without the others. To imagine their harmony, picture a house in a gentle landscape. The epidermis is like the roof, keeping out the sun and rain. The dermis is like the frame and the walls, holding everything together, full of pipes and wiring that transport what is needed. And the hypodermis is the foundation, steady and solid, holding the structure against the shifting ground. Each part has its own purpose, yet it is only in combination that the dwelling feels whole. The layers of the skin also remind us of time's passage. The epidermis is always renewing, shedding the old and bringing forth the new. The dermis changes more slowly, weaving fibers, repairing and rebuilding when needed. The hypodermis shifts with age, sometimes thinning, sometimes thickening, quietly reflecting the body's changing needs. Even as we rest, these layers continue their work, unceasing, unhurried. In the gentle silence of night, as you lie still, the skin does not sleep. New cells are forming, blood flows steadily through the dermis, glands prepare their secretions, and the hypodermis continues to cradle and insulate. It is a living fabric, self-sustaining, always adjusting to the quiet demands of life. As we continue our exploration, we will step more deeply into each layer, beginning with the epidermis, the first barrier, delicate yet strong, always renewing itself in cycles as ancient as life itself. 3. Our first barrier, at the very edge of the body, lies a layer so thin it might be overlooked, yet so essential that without it, life could not continue for long. This is the epidermis, the outermost layer of the skin, the body's first barrier against the world. Though delicate in thickness, often no more than a fraction of a millimeter, it is one of the most remarkable defenses in nature, flexible, self-renewing, and finely attuned to its environment. The epidermis is made primarily of keratinocytes, cells named for the protein keratin that they produce. Keratin is a tough, fibrous material, the same substance that strengthens hair and nails. In the skin, it gives resilience and waterproofing, forming a shield against the hazards of daily life. Yet these keratinocytes are not static. They live in a cycle, rising slowly from the deeper layers toward the surface, changing in form as they go, until at last they flatten, harden, and become part of the outermost covering. This steady migration is sometimes called keratinization, and it takes place quietly, all the time, in every part of the body. At the base of the epidermis, new keratinocytes are born through the division of stem cells. These fresh cells are soft and full of life. As they are pushed upward by the generations beneath them, they begin to change. Their nuclei shrink, their contents fill with keratin, and their shapes flatten into overlapping sheets. After about a month, they reach the surface, now lifeless but strong, ready to be brushed away by touch, clothing, or the air itself. And then, the cycle continues. Because of this renewal, the surface of our skin is always young, always recent, never more than a few weeks old. It is like a constantly turning wheel, with new spokes replacing old, or like the shifting sands of a shore, with grains always moving, always replaced by others. The epidermis itself is organized into several layers, or strata, each representing a stage of this cellular journey. At the deepest level lies the stratum basale, also called the basal layer. This is the nursery of the epidermis, where stem cells divide and give rise to fresh keratinocytes. The stratum basale also contains melanocytes, the pigment-producing cells that give skin its range of colors and help shield it from the sun's ultraviolet light. Interspersed here are Merkel cells, sensitive structures that contribute to the sense of fine touch. Together, these cells form a living foundation, the beginning of the epidermis. Above this lies the stratum spinosum, or the spiny layer, so named because the cells appear slightly prickled when viewed under a microscope. Here, keratinocytes begin to link together through strong protein connections called desmosomes, creating a supportive network. In this layer also dwell Langerhans cells, quiet sentinels of the immune system, ready to recognize and respond to potential invaders. Next comes the stratum granulosum, or granular layer. The keratinocytes here are filled with dark granules of keratin and lipids. They are beginning their transformation, flattening and losing their nuclei. Their contents are released to fill spaces between cells, forming a waterproof seal. This layer is a kind of frontier, where life transitions into protection, where cells sacrifice themselves to form a barrier against the world. In certain areas of thick skin, such as the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, there lies another layer above this, the stratum lucidum, a clear, translucent band. It adds an extra measure of defense in places where the skin bears greater pressure and friction. Finally, at the very top, lies the stratum corneum, the outermost layer. This is the visible surface of the skin, composed entirely of flattened, keratin-filled cells, known as corneocytes. They are lifeless, yet they remain for a time, overlapping like shingles on a roof, forming a resilient shield. This shield is both tough and flexible, able to withstand daily wear, yet soft enough to bend and move with the body. Eventually, these cells flake away, falling unnoticed as dust, replaced by others from below. Though the epidermis is thin, it plays many roles. It keeps essential water within, preventing dehydration in dry air. It keeps harmful substances out, blocking toxins, bacteria, and viruses. It helps regulate temperature by allowing sweat to pass outward, and through its pigments, it protects against the sun's radiation, reducing the risk of damage to the deeper tissues. The melanocytes of the basal layer are especially important. They produce melanin, a pigment that ranges in shade from pale yellow to deep brown. Melanin is not spread evenly across the body, nor across individuals. It is influenced by genetics, by ancestry, and by exposure to sunlight. When sunlight strikes the skin, melanocytes increase their activity, producing more pigment, which is then taken up by surrounding keratinocytes. This gives the familiar darkening of a tan, but more than a cosmetic effect, melanin is protective. It absorbs ultraviolet radiation, shielding the DNA within cells from damage. In this way, melanin acts as a natural sunblock, built into the very fabric of the skin. The epidermis is also home to a delicate system of immune defense. Langerhans cells, spread throughout the spiny layer, are part of the body's protective surveillance. They can capture fragments of microbes that land on the skin, then carry this information inward to alert the immune system. Though invisible, this watchfulness is constant, guarding the body against threats that arrive at its surface. And woven throughout the basal layer are the Merkel cells, specialized structures that link to sensory nerves. They allow us to feel gentle touches, the brush of fabric, the tickle of air, the faint ripple of movement across the skin. Without them, much of the subtlety of touch would be lost. Together, these elements make the epidermis more than just a barrier. It is a living interface, a place of renewal, defense, sensation, and protection. If we imagine the skin as a quiet forest, the epidermis is like its canopy. The outermost leaves fall and are replaced in cycles. Beneath them, pigments shift with the seasons, filtering the light. Hidden guardians stand watch, while delicate sensors feel the slightest changes in air and movement. The forest thrives not by being static, but by its constant renewal, always alive, always changing. And so it is with the epidermis. Though we may not notice it, it is always turning, always regenerating, always preserving the delicate balance between the body within and the world without. It is our first barrier, our constant shield, and yet also a window letting us sense, reflect, and adapt to the environment around us. As we continue our journey, we will move deeper into the dermis, the supportive middle layer, where blood vessels, nerves, and connective fibers weave together in quiet strength. 4. The dermis, the living middle layer. Beneath the epidermis, hidden from sight, but never from function, lies the dermis, the thick, living middle layer of the skin. If the epidermis is a delicate veil, the dermis is the strong fabric beneath it, rich with fibers, vessels, and nerves. It is here that the skin gains much of its strength and resilience. Here that sensation begins its journey inward, and here that many of the skin's most essential structures quietly reside. The dermis is far thicker than the epidermis, sometimes several millimeters in depth, depending on the region of the body. While the epidermis is constantly renewing and shedding, the dermis endures. It is not replaced every few weeks, but instead weaves itself over long stretches of time, repairing and remodeling when needed. Its architecture is strong, yet flexible, designed to withstand both the tension of daily movement and the subtle demands of sensation. The dermis itself is divided into two regions, the papillary layer and the reticular layer. The papillary layer, closest to the epidermis, is composed of loose connective tissue, soft and interwoven, filled with tiny blood vessels and fine nerve endings. It forms gentle projections, known as dermal papillae, which extend upward to meet the epidermis. These papillae increase the contact between the two layers, ensuring that the epidermis above is nourished and anchored. In certain places, these papillae form the basis of the ridges that appear as fingerprints, unique patterns that mark every individual. Beneath this lies the reticular layer, the deeper portion of the dermis. This layer is composed of dense, irregular connective tissue, filled with thick bundles of collagen fibers that crisscross in many directions. These fibers give the skin its toughness, its ability to resist tearing when pulled or stretched. Interwoven with them are elastin fibers, which provide the gift of flexibility, allowing the skin to return to shape after being folded or compressed. The combination of collagen and elastin makes the dermis both strong and supple, a fabric able to endure years of movement, pressure, and time. Threaded through this fibrous network are the blood vessels that nourish the skin. While the epidermis above is avascular, meaning it has no blood supply of its own, the dermis is richly vascularized. Its capillaries bring oxygen and nutrients close to the base of the epidermis, where diffusion can carry them upward. At the same time, these vessels help regulate temperature. In warmth, they widen or dilate, allowing more blood to flow near the surface, releasing heat outward. In cold, they narrow or constrict, conserving warmth within the body's core. In this way, the dermis participates constantly in thermoregulation, keeping the body's temperature steady despite the shifting environment. Scattered throughout the dermis are the nerves that carry sensation. Some are fine, sensitive endings that detect light, touch, warmth, or coolness. Others are deeper structures, such as the Pacinian corpuscles, which sense pressure and vibration, or the Meissner's corpuscles, which are tuned to gentle touch and texture. It is through these receptors that the skin speaks to the nervous system, translating the external world into the language of sensation. The smoothness of silk, the warmth of a fire, the roughness of stone, all of these impressions begin in the dermis, carried inward by nerve fibers to the brain. Also embedded within the dermis are the appendages of the skin. Hair follicles extend downward from the epidermis into the dermis, where they are nourished by small clusters of cells known as hair bulbs. Each follicle is accompanied by tiny sebaceous glands, which release sebum, a natural oil that softens and waterproofs both hair and skin. Sweat glands also take root here. The eccrine glands, found across much of the body, coil within the dermis, releasing sweat directly onto the skin surface to cool and cleanse. The apocrine glands, found in specific regions such as the underarms, open into hair follicles, releasing a thicker secretion that plays a role in scent. The dermis also contains immune cells, part of the body's quiet defense. Macrophages and mast cells rest here, ready to respond to injury or invasion. When the skin is wounded, the dermis springs into action, clotting blood vessels, sending out signals to recruit more immune cells, and beginning the process of repair. It is within the dermis that scars form, as fibroblasts lay down new collagen to replace what has been lost. Though the texture may differ, the purpose is the same: to restore the protective fabric of the skin. In this way, the dermis is not a passive layer, but an active, living tissue. It is at once a provider of strength, a regulator of temperature, a home for sensation, a source of repair, and a medium of connection. To imagine the dermis, one might picture the woven fabric of a tapestry. The collagen fibers are like thick threads, forming the base. The elastin fibers are like finer strands, adding flexibility and grace. The blood vessels are like rivers, winding through the weave, carrying nourishment and warmth. The nerves are like hidden wires, transmitting signals of touch and pressure. And scattered throughout are the structures of glands and follicles, like small villages nestled within the landscape. The tapestry is complex, yet harmonious, each part contributing to the strength and beauty of the whole. The dermis also reflects the passage of time. In youth, its fibers are abundant, elastic, and resilient, giving the skin a smooth and supple quality. With age, collagen fibers may thin, and elastin fibers may lose their spring, leading to wrinkles and folds. Blood supply may lessen, slowing the delivery of nutrients. Yet even then, the dermis continues its work, tirelessly repairing, sensing, and supporting. It is not static but responsive, adapting quietly to the body's needs throughout life. In its quiet way, the dermis reminds us that strength need not be rigid, and resilience is not the absence of change. Rather, true strength lies in flexibility, in the ability to bend without breaking, to repair after damage, and to endure through time. As we journey deeper into the integumentary system, we will descend to the layer below the hypodermis, the cushion of fat and connective tissue that steadies the skin against the structures beneath. While the epidermis guards and the dermis supports, the hypodermis protects and anchors, completing the gentle harmony of layers. 5. The cushion below. The cushion below. Beneath the dermis, deeper than the blood vessels, glands and fibers of the skin, lies a quiet foundation. This layer, known as the hypodermis, or subcutaneous tissue, is not always considered part of the skin itself, yet it is inseparable from the integumentary system. It is the cushion that steadies us, the anchor that connects skin to the body below, and the reservoir that stores energy for times of need. The hypodermis is composed primarily of adipose tissue, or body fat, interwoven with connective fibers and small blood vessels. To imagine it, one might think of a soft quilt resting beneath a sturdy fabric, or a layer of soil beneath grass, providing depth, insulation, and support. Without it, the skin above would rest loosely, unable to follow the body's movements with grace. With it, the skin is stabilized, attached firmly to muscles and bones, while remaining supple and flexible. One of the hypodermis's most important roles is insulation. Fat is a poor conductor of heat, which means it slows the loss of warmth from the body to the surrounding air. In cold environments, this insulating quality helps maintain a stable internal temperature, protecting the vital organs within. At the same time, the hypodermis cushions the body against external forces. When we walk, sit, or lie down, this layer absorbs part of the pressure, softening the impact on muscles and bones. It is, in essence, a built-in padding, protecting us from the constant contact of daily life. The hypodermis also serves as a storehouse of energy. The adipocytes, or fat cells, within it are capable of storing large amounts of triglycerides, the body's main form of stored fuel. When energy intake from food is plentiful, these cells fill with fat droplets, expanding like small balloons. When energy is scarce, the stored fat is broken down, releasing energy to sustain the body's needs. This cycle of storage and release unfolds quietly, day by day, providing a buffer against times of hunger or strain. Though often thought of only as storage, fat tissue is in fact a living, active organ. Adipocytes secrete hormones and signaling molecules that influence metabolism, appetite, and even immune responses. In this way, the hypodermis is not only a passive layer, but also a participant in the body's broader balance. It communicates with other systems, helping to regulate energy use and preserve stability. Another important role of the hypodermis is connection. It binds the skin above to the muscles and bones below, allowing them to move together in harmony. Without this attachment, the skin might slide too freely, tearing or separating from deeper tissues. With it, the skin is anchored yet flexible, able to stretch with movement, fold at joints, and follow the contours of the body with ease. This connection is also what makes the hypodermis a useful site for medical injections. Its loose connective tissue and abundant blood supply allow medicines to be absorbed steadily, diffusing into circulation without the risk of damaging muscle fibers. The thickness of the hypodermis varies across the body. In some regions, such as the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, it is especially thick, providing extra cushioning where the body bears weight. In other areas, such as the eyelids, it is thin and delicate. It also differs between individuals, influenced by age, sex, nutrition, and genetics. In infants, the hypodermis is abundant, giving the soft roundness often called baby fat, which provides warmth and reserves for early growth. In adults, its distribution becomes more patterned, often thicker in certain regions and thinner in others. With age, it may diminish, leaving the skin above more fragile and less cushioned. Though often hidden, The hypodermis is also a place of healing. When the skin is wounded, blood vessels within the hypodermis help supply the nutrients and cells needed for repair. Fibroblasts move upward to create new connective tissue, while immune cells gather to prevent infection. Over time, this foundation supports the regrowth of both dermis and epidermis, allowing the surface to close and recover. The hypodermis has a quiet beauty in its simplicity. It is not richly textured like the dermis, nor layered in stages like the epidermis. Instead, it is soft, uniform, and steady. Its very purpose is to support, cushion, and nourish, and in this quietness lies its importance. Without it, the upper layers could not endure the stresses of movement, impact, and temperature. With it, the skin remains resilient, flexible, and connected. To imagine the hypodermis, one might picture a meadow resting on fertile earth. The grasses above sway with the wind, much as the epidermis shifts and renews. Beneath them lie deeper roots and structures, like the dermis, woven with vessels and fibers. And beneath all, there is the soil, steady and rich, cushioning and nourishing everything above. It is not the most visible layer, but it sustains the entire landscape. The hypodermis also reminds us of balance. Too much fat stored here may strain the body, leading to illness. Too little may leave the body fragile, unable to insulate or cushion itself. But in its natural harmony, the hypodermis is a quiet partner in survival, storing enough, supporting enough, providing enough. It reflects life's tendency toward moderation, sustaining us silently beneath the surface. As we rest, the hypodermis continues its work. Fat cells shift in size as energy is stored or released. Blood flows through its small vessels, carrying warmth and nourishment. Connective fibers hold the skin in place, while immune cells remain ready for healing. All of this unfolds without notice, without sound, in the deep foundation beneath the skin. In the broader picture of the integumentary system, the hypodermis completes the trio of layers. The epidermis guards, the dermis supports, and the hypodermis cushions. Each has its own role, yet none can stand alone. Together, they form the living covering of the body, strong and flexible, delicate and enduring. And so, the hypodermis is more than a cushion. It is the silent base upon which the skin rests, the soft soil from which resilience grows, and the steady anchor that holds us together. As we move forward in our journey, we will leave the layers themselves and turn to the cells within the skin, the keratinocytes, melanocytes, Langerhans cells, and Merkel cells, each with its own secret life, each contributing in its own way to the quiet harmony of the integumentary system. 6. Skin cells and their secret lives. Beneath the familiar surface of the skin lies a world that the eye cannot see, yet one that is constantly at work. This is the world of cells, the living units that make up the epidermis and contribute to its endless renewal, protection, and sensation. To explore them is to discover that the skin is not a passive covering but an active, dynamic community, where each type of cell carries its own quiet responsibility. The most numerous inhabitants of this world are the keratinocytes. They make up nearly 90% of the epidermis and are responsible for producing keratin, the strong protein that gives the skin its resilience. Their story begins deep in the stratum basale, the lowest layer of the epidermis. Here, stem cells divide to form new keratinocytes, small and rounded, filled with life. As days pass, these cells slowly migrate upward, layer by layer. Along the way, they change shape and function. In the stratum spinosum, they flatten slightly and bind tightly to their neighbors, forming a web of interlinked cells. In the stratum granulosum, they fill with granules of keratin and lipids, becoming tougher and less alive. By the time they reach the stratum corneum, they are fully transformed flat, lifeless plates of keratin, stacked like tiles, forming the shield we see as skin. After a few days at the surface, They are shed, drifting away invisibly as dust. And yet, even in death, they serve, providing the barrier that guards the living body within. This cycle of keratinocytes, birth, transformation, sacrifice takes about 4 weeks in total, a constant renewal that ensures the surface of our skin is never older than a month. It is a rhythm of life and release, silent and unceasing. Among the keratinocytes live other, less numerous, but equally important cells. One of these is the melanocyte, the pigment-producing cell. Found in the basal layer, melanocytes create melanin, the pigment responsible for the wide range of human skin tones. Long branching arms of the melanocyte extend outward, delivering pigment to the keratinocytes around them. Like tiny umbrellas, these pigments gather above the nuclei of the cells, shielding the delicate DNA from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Melanin is both protection and expression. Its presence defends us against damage, yet it also creates the visible diversity of skin colors among individuals and populations. Under sunlight, melanocytes increase their activity, producing more pigment, which darkens the skin, a natural adaptation we call tanning. This change is temporary, but it speaks to the constant dialogue between skin and environment. In this way, melanocytes not only color the skin, but also embody its role as a mediator between the body and the outer world. Another key player is the Langerhans cell, a sentinel of the immune system. These cells are scattered throughout the epidermis, especially in the spiny layer. Their task is quiet but vital. They patrol for intruders. When a bacterium, virus, or toxin comes into contact with the skin, a Langerhans cell can capture fragments of it and carry the information inward to the immune system. In this way, the skin does more than block entry. It actively learns, remembers, and prepares for defense. Langerhans cells remind us that the integumentary system is not isolated. It works in partnership with the body's defenses, acting as the first guard in a vast army of immune responses. Without them, the skin would be only a wall. With them, it is an intelligent sentinel, alert to what touches its surface. The last of the major cell types is the Merkel cell, a rare but remarkable presence in the basal layer. These cells are connected to sensory nerve endings and are responsible for the perception of gentle touch. They allow us to feel the smallest details, the fine weave of fabric, the smoothness of polished stone, the light brush of a feather. Without Merkel cells, the sense of touch would lose much of its subtlety, becoming blunt and indistinct. With them, the skin is capable of extraordinary sensitivity, able to detect differences in texture and pressure that seem almost invisible. Together, these 4 cell types, keratinocytes, melanocytes, Langerhans cells, and Merkel cells, form the heart of the epidermis. Each has its own secret life, its own role in the larger harmony of the integumentary system. The keratinocytes provide the shield, renewing it constantly through cycles of birth and death. The melanocytes provide protection and diversity, coloring the skin while guarding it from the sun. The Langerhans cells provide vigilance, patrolling against invasion. And the Merkel cells provide sensitivity, linking the outer world to the inner nervous system. Though different, these cells are not separate. They interact constantly. Melanocytes share pigment with keratinocytes. Langerhans cells move between them, watching and learning. Merkel cells link to nerves that thread through the dermis below. It is a community, interwoven and cooperative, where no single cell acts alone. This microscopic society is a reminder that complexity often hides in plain sight. What appears to be a smooth, uniform surface is in fact a dynamic, layered structure, filled with countless lives unfolding at once. And just as the surface of a forest conceals the countless roots, fungi, and creatures beneath, the surface of the skin conceals a hidden world of cells, each with its own rhythm and role. Even now, as you rest, Keratinocytes are rising. Melanocytes are producing pigment. Langerhans cells are keeping watch. And Merkel cells are transmitting the faintest signals of touch. The activity is unending, yet quiet, a hum of life beneath the stillness of the skin. To reflect on these cells is to realize that the integumentary system is not only protection, but also communication, adaptation, and memory. It is a boundary, but not a barrier alone. It is a living interface between self and world. As we continue our journey, we will turn our attention to one of the most visible aspects of the integumentary system, melanin and the colors of skin. We will explore how this pigment shapes not only protection but also the gentle diversity of human appearance, and how it reflects the intimate relationship between biology and environment. 7. Melanin and the colors of skin. Among the many wonders of the integumentary system, one of the most visible, and perhaps the most quietly beautiful, is the presence of melanin, the pigment that gives skin its wide range of colors. From the palest ivory to the deepest ebony, human skin displays a spectrum that reflects both our shared biology and the subtle influence of the environments in which we live. To explore melanin is to explore not only color, but also protection, adaptation, and the deep rhythm of life at the cellular level. Melanin is produced by specialized cells known as melanocytes, which dwell in the basal layer of the epidermis. Each melanocyte has long, branching arms that extend outward like the limbs of a tree. Through these extensions, the melanocyte delivers melanin granules, called melanosomes, to surrounding keratinocytes. In this way, pigment is shared, spreading color throughout the skin. What is striking is that people of all skin tones possess roughly the same number of melanocytes. The difference lies not in the quantity of these cells, but in their activity. In individuals with lighter skin, melanocytes produce smaller melanosomes that cluster together, and the pigment is broken down more quickly. In individuals with darker skin, melanocytes produce larger melanosomes, which are more numerous, more widely dispersed, and more resistant to breakdown. This variation results in the broad palette of human skin tones we see across the world. The function of melanin goes far beyond aesthetics. Its primary role is protection against ultraviolet UV radiation from the sun. When sunlight strikes the skin, UV rays can damage the DNA inside cells, leading to mutations and disease. Melanin absorbs much of this radiation, acting like a natural sunblock. The granules position themselves above the nuclei of keratinocytes, forming a protective umbrella that shields the delicate genetic material within. This protective role explains why populations native to equatorial regions, where sunlight is most intense, often have darker skin. Over countless generations, increased melanin production helped guard against the harmful effects of constant UV exposure. In contrast, populations in regions with lower sunlight, such as northern latitudes, evolved lighter skin. This adaptation allowed more UV rays to penetrate, aiding the body in producing vitamin D, which depends on sunlight for its synthesis. Thus, skin color reflects a delicate balance between protection against excess UV and the need to absorb enough light for vital processes. Melanin is not limited to the skin. It also colors the hair and the iris of the eyes. Variations in type and concentration of melanin create the differences we see. Black or brown hair, blonde or red strands, eyes that range from deep brown to bright blue or green. In hair, melanin is produced in follicles, and its distribution determines shade. In eyes, melanin concentration in the iris defines their color, with more pigment, resulting in darker tones. There are two main types of melanin: eumelanin and pheomelanin. Eumelanin is dark, appearing brown or black. It is the most effective at absorbing UV radiation and is found abundantly in darker skin and hair. Pheomelanin is lighter, with reddish or yellow hues. It provides less protection against UV and higher amounts of pheomelanin contribute to red or blonde hair, as well as lighter skin tones. Most people have a mixture of both types, but the balance between them gives rise to the diversity of colors we recognize. The activity of melanocytes is influenced not only by genetics but also by the environment. Sunlight stimulates melanocytes to produce more melanin, leading to tanning. This response is a form of adaptation, increasing protection when exposure rises. Yet the effect is temporary, fading as keratinocytes carrying the pigment are shed from the surface. In contrast, genetic variations in melanocyte activity and melanin type are permanent, shaping an individual's natural skin tone throughout life. Beyond sunlight, hormones can also affect melanin production. For example, during pregnancy, many women develop darker patches of skin, a phenomenon known as melasma, or the mask of pregnancy. This occurs due to hormonal changes that increase melanocyte activity. Similarly, certain endocrine conditions or medications may alter pigmentation, reminding us that melanin is tied closely to the body's inner rhythms. The presence or absence of melanin also explains certain conditions. In albinism, a rare genetic disorder, melanocytes are present but unable to produce melanin properly. The result is very light skin, hair, and eyes, along with increased sensitivity to sunlight. In vitiligo, patches of skin lose their melanocytes, leading to areas of lighter color that stand out against the surrounding skin. These conditions reveal how essential melanin is, not only for appearance but also for protection and balance. Beyond its biological functions, melanin carries a quiet symbolism. It is a pigment that unites us all, present in every human being, yet expressed in countless shades. It reflects adaptation, history, ancestry, and the intimate relationship between the body and the sun. Each variation, whether light or dark, is not a flaw but a reflection of environment and evolution. The diversity of melanin reminds us of the adaptability of life, of the body's ability to adjust, protect, and endure. To picture the role of melanin, imagine a field of flowers beneath the sun. Some petals are pale, delicate, needing the gentle warmth to thrive. Others are deep and richly colored, shielding themselves from the brightest rays. Yet all are flowers, rooted in the same soil, nourished by the same light, adapted to their own corner of the earth. In much the same way, human skin reflects both unity and variation, each shade shaped by the environment, yet part of a shared design. Even now, as you rest, melanocytes are at work. They are producing pigment, packaging it into melanosomes, and passing it outward to keratinocytes. They are adjusting their activity in response to signals from light, hormones, and the body's needs. The pigment they produce gathers silently above cell nuclei, protecting DNA with its shield. It is a process you cannot feel, but one that sustains you every moment of every day. And so, melanin is more than color. It is protection, adaptation, and expression. It connects us to our ancestors who lived under different skies, to the environments that shaped us, and to the ongoing dialogue between body and world. As our journey continues, we will move from pigment to hair, another expression of the integumentary system. We will explore how strands grow, how follicles work, and how hair contributes to warmth, protection, and identity, flowing from the skin as a living extension of it. 8. Hair. Strands of protection and expression, from the scalp to the eyebrows, from the arms to the legs, and even in the most hidden places of the body. Fine filaments emerge from the skin. These are the hair's slender threads of keratin that extend outward as part of the integumentary system. Though often small and unassuming, hair plays important roles in protection, sensation, and expression. To look closely at hair is to see not only its delicate structure but also its deep connection to the skin and the body as a whole. Each strand of hair begins in a follicle, a tiny pocket that dips down from the epidermis into the dermis, sometimes even reaching into the hypodermis. Within the follicle lies the hair bulb, a rounded structure at the base. Inside this bulb, specialized cells divide rapidly, producing keratin just as keratinocytes do in the skin. These new cells are pushed upward, compacted, and filled with keratin, forming the shaft of the hair. As they move away from the nourishing blood supply of the follicle, they die, becoming the hardened strands we see above the surface. Thus, much like the outer layer of skin, hair is composed of dead cells, yet shaped and sustained by living ones below. The visible part of the hair is lifeless, but the follicle is active, always producing, always growing. The structure of the hair shaft itself is layered. At its core lies the medulla, a central column that may be present in thicker hairs. Surrounding it is the cortex, which contains the bulk of the hair's keratin and the melanin pigments that give it color. The outermost layer is the cuticle, made of overlapping cells that form a protective sheath, much like shingles on a roof. This arrangement gives hair its strength and smoothness, while also allowing flexibility. The color of hair is determined, like skin, by melanin. Eumelanin produces black and brown shades, while pheomelanin contributes red and yellow tones. The balance between them creates the wide variety of natural hair colors, from jet black to golden blonde to fiery red. As we age, melanocytes within the hair follicles gradually decrease their activity, leading to gray or white hair. This fading is a natural reflection of time's passage, a reminder of the cycles of growth and change. Hair does not grow continuously, but instead follows a cycle with three main phases. The anagen phase is the period of active growth, which may last for years on the scalp, producing long strands. The catagen phase is a brief transition, where growth slows and the follicle begins to shrink. Finally, the telogen phase is a resting period, after which the hair is shed. A new strand then begins its own cycle from the follicle. At any given moment, different hairs are at different stages, ensuring that while some are shed, many remain, giving the appearance of continuous coverage. Beyond growth and color, hair serves multiple functions. On the scalp, it provides insulation, helping to retain heat in cold weather and shading the head from sunlight. On the eyelashes and eyebrows, it protects the eyes from dust, sweat, and debris. In the nose and ears, fine hairs act as filters, trapping particles before they can enter deeper passageways. On the rest of the body, even fine, nearly invisible hairs contribute to sensation. Each hair follicle is connected to a sensory nerve, making hair a subtle instrument of touch. A strand moved by the faintest breeze or the lightest brush of contact sends signals inward, amplifying the skin's awareness of its surroundings. Hair is also accompanied by tiny muscles known as erector pili. When these muscles contract in cold or in response to emotion, the hairs stand upright, creating what we call goosebumps. In animals, this reaction fluffs the fur for warmth or for display. In humans, it is a remnant of our evolutionary past, a subtle echo of the time when thicker hair served as a primary shield. Hair also plays a role in expression and identity. Across cultures and ages, it has been shaped, styled, and regarded as a mark of individuality. Though not essential for survival in the same way as skin or glands, it reflects the intimate connection between biology and human meaning. Each strand carries not only keratin and pigment, but also the quiet symbolism we attach to it. The density and distribution of hair vary greatly across the body. Some regions, such as the scalp, are covered with thick, long hairs. Others, like the arms and torso, bear only fine, short strands called vellus hairs, nearly invisible but still present. With puberty, hormones influence follicles, transforming vellus hairs in certain areas into coarser, darker terminal hairs. This shift marks one of the many ways in which the integumentary system responds to inner changes, reflecting growth and development. Hair follicles also work in partnership with sebaceous glands, which secrete sebum, a natural oil. Sebum coats both hair and skin, keeping them soft, flexible, and protected from dryness. This subtle sheen is part of the skin's barrier, preventing the loss of moisture and enhancing resilience. To envision hair's role, imagine a field of grasses swaying in a gentle wind. Each blade emerges from the soil, nourished at its base, yet reaching upward into the air. The blades vary in color, length, and thickness, yet together they form a living surface, responsive to light, wind, and touch. In the same way, the hairs of the body form a living extension of the skin, delicate yet resilient, expressive yet protective. Even as you rest, the follicles beneath your skin are at work. Cells are dividing, keratin is forming, pigments are being deposited, and strands are slowly lengthening. Other hairs are in their resting phase, preparing to shed, making way for new growth. It is a cycle that continues quietly, without notice, throughout life. And so, hair is more than decoration. It is protection for the body, a sensor for the skin, and a marker of time and individuality. From the eyelashes that shield the eyes, to the strands that warm the scalp, to the fine hairs that respond to the air, it is woven into the quiet harmony of the integumentary system. As our journey continues, we will turn from hair to another remarkable extension of the skin, the nails. Hard, flat plates of keratin. Nails protect the tips of our fingers and toes, enabling delicate movements while reflecting the health of the body beneath. 9. Nails, protectors of the fingertips. At the very tips of our fingers and toes lie structures that, though small and often unnoticed, serve as both tools and shields. These are the nails, hard, flat plates of keratin that emerge from the skin, covering and protecting the most delicate ends of our digits. To look closely at nails is to see not only their quiet strength, but also their connection to the body's deeper rhythms of growth, health, and renewal. Each nail begins in a nail root, hidden beneath the fold of skin at the base of the nail. Within this root lies the nail matrix, a specialized region where keratinocytes divide rapidly, producing the cells that will form the nail plate. As new cells are created, they are pushed forward, compacted, and filled with keratin, just as the cells of the hair and skin are. Unlike the soft keratin of the epidermis, however, the keratin of nails is especially dense and tough, forming a hard surface. This makes nails durable, resistant to wear, and able to serve as protective shields. From the matrix, the nail extends outward as the nail plate, the visible part of the nail. Beneath it lies the nail bed, a layer of skin rich with capillaries, which give the nail its pinkish tone. At the very base of the plate is the lunula, the pale crescent sometimes visible on fingernails, marking the edge of the active matrix. Surrounding the nail on its sides and base is the cuticle, a fold of skin that seals and protects the root from infection. The nail grows slowly but steadily. On average, fingernails lengthen about 3 millimeters per month, while toenails grow more slowly, at about 1 millimeter per month. The rate is influenced by age, nutrition, health, and even the season. Though growth may seem subtle, it is continuous, a quiet reminder of the body's capacity for renewal. The functions of nails are several. Their most obvious role is protection. The fingertips and toes contain a dense network of nerves, making them highly sensitive. Nails shield these delicate regions from injury, forming a hard barrier at their ends. Nails also enhance sensation in a subtler way. By pressing against the soft tissue beneath, they provide counterpressure that helps us detect fine textures and details. This is why tasks such as feeling fabric, picking up small objects, or tapping surfaces are aided by nails. Nails also serve as tools. They allow us to scratch an itch, to grasp and manipulate objects, to peel and separate. In this way, nails extend the abilities of the hand and foot, turning soft digits into more versatile instruments. They are small, but they magnify the precision and usefulness of our touch. Beyond their practical roles, nails also serve as windows into health. Because they grow steadily, changes in their color, shape, or texture may reflect underlying conditions. Pale nails can indicate anemia, while bluish nails may point to reduced oxygen levels. Thickened or brittle nails may arise from nutritional deficiencies or fungal infections. In this way, nails are not only protectors but also silent messengers, offering clues about the state of the body within. The composition of nails is simple yet remarkable. Like hair, they are made of keratin, but arranged in tightly packed layers, making them harder and less flexible. Despite their toughness, nails are not lifeless. The matrix beneath is living and active, constantly producing new cells. The visible nail plate is composed of hardened, dead cells, yet it reflects the ongoing activity of the living tissue below. The color of nails comes primarily from the blood vessels of the nail bed beneath the translucent plate. When circulation is strong, nails appear pink. When blood flow is reduced, they may look pale or bluish. This delicate shading is another reminder that nails are not separate structures, but extensions of the skin, closely tied to the body's overall condition. The thickness and shape of nails vary from person to person and from finger to toe. Fingernails are usually thinner and grow more quickly, while toenails are thicker and slower. Nails also curve slightly, following the contour of the fingertips. In some individuals, nails may grow flatter or more arched, small variations that reflect both genetics and daily use. Culturally and personally, nails have long carried meaning. They can be shaped, polished, decorated, or left natural. In many traditions, they are symbols of care, refinement, or even strength. Yet beneath these surface interpretations, the biological role remains steady: protection, sensation, and support for the delicate tips of the digits. To imagine the role of nails, one might picture small shields at the end of each finger and toe. They are not large, not heavy, not imposing, yet they are precisely where they need to be, guarding the most sensitive points while enhancing their usefulness. Like a thin yet strong layer of armor, they provide quiet defense without burdening movement. Even now, as you rest, your nails are growing. Cells within the matrix are dividing, filling with keratin, and being pressed forward. Slowly, invisibly, the nail plate lengthens. Over weeks and months, this growth will carry the plate outward, where it can be trimmed, shaped, or simply worn down through use. The process is unending, a small cycle of renewal unfolding at the edges of the body. Nails also reflect the passage of time. In childhood, they are thin and delicate. In adulthood, they grow stronger and faster. With age, they may become thicker, more brittle, or ridged, reflecting the gradual changes within the body. Yet through all these phases, their purpose remains constant: to protect and support the sensitive tips of the fingers and toes. The nails, in their quiet way, complete the trio of integumentary appendages. Hair, emerging in strands, provides warmth, protection, and sensitivity. Glands, secreting oils and sweat, maintain balance and regulation. And nails, firm and enduring, protect the tips of the digits, extending their usefulness and shielding their sensitivity. Together, they show the ingenuity of the integumentary system, how keratin, a single protein, can be shaped into delicate skin, flexible hair, or hard nails, each serving a unique role. As we continue our journey, we will turn to the glands of the skin, the sebaceous, sweat, and scent glands that maintain moisture, regulate temperature, and even influence how we interact with the world. 10. Glands. cooling the body. Hidden beneath the surface of the skin are structures that most of us rarely think about, though they are at work nearly every day. These are the sweat glands, delicate coils that wind their way through the dermis, opening onto the surface as tiny pores. They are small, silent, and almost invisible, yet they play a role of great importance, helping the body maintain balance, regulating temperature, and excreting waste in a gentle, continuous rhythm. The human body contains two main types of sweat glands, eccrine glands and apocrine glands. Though they share the same basic task of releasing sweat, their structure, distribution, and function differ in subtle ways. The eccrine glands are the most numerous, found in almost every region of the skin. Each is a coiled tube, tucked deep in the dermis or upper hypodermis, with a duct that leads directly to the surface. These glands produce a watery secretion composed mostly of water, with small amounts of salts, urea, and other trace substances. The sweat they release spreads across the skin and evaporates, carrying heat away and cooling the body. This process, known as evaporative cooling, is one of the body's most efficient methods of regulating temperature. Imagine walking on a warm day. As the body heats, signals from the nervous system reach the eccrine glands, prompting them to release sweat. Though the droplets may be faint as they evaporate, they draw heat from the skin, gently lowering the temperature. In this way, the skin acts like a living thermostat, adjusting moment by moment to preserve balance. Eccrine glands are especially concentrated on the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the forehead. On the hands and feet, the sweat does more than cool. It also enhances grip. By moistening the skin slightly, sweat helps prevent slipping, whether holding a tool, climbing a surface, or walking across uneven ground. On the forehead, sweat ensures that heat from the head, one of the body's warmest regions, can dissipate effectively. The second type of sweat gland, the apocrine gland, is found in more limited areas, particularly the armpits, groin, and around the nipples. These glands are larger, and their ducts usually empty into hair follicles rather than directly onto the skin. The sweat they produce is thicker, containing not only water and salts but also proteins and lipids. On its own, apocrine sweat is nearly odorless, but when it reaches the surface, it encounters bacteria that live naturally on the skin. These bacteria break down the sweat's organic compounds, releasing substances that create scent. This is why apocrine glands are sometimes called scent glands. In many mammals, they play a role in communication, marking territory, signaling reproductive readiness, or establishing social bonds. In humans, their role is subtler, yet the scents they produce still carry meaning, even if often masked or managed. The activity of apocrine glands increases at puberty, reflecting their connection to hormonal changes and adult development. Together, eccrine and apocrine glands illustrate the versatility of the integumentary system. The same basic mechanism, the secretion of sweat, can serve both as a tool for thermoregulation and as a medium of social communication. One cools the body, the other adds to the subtle language of presence and interaction. In addition to these two, there are also specialized sweat glands. The ceruminous glands, located in the ear canal, produce earwax, which protects the ear from dust, debris, and microbes. The mammary glands, though more complex, are modified sweat glands as well, producing milk to nourish infants. These variations remind us that glandular structures can adapt to serve many purposes, shaping secretions to the body's needs. Sweat itself, though often overlooked, is more than water. It carries small amounts of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, chloride, which help maintain the body's chemical balance. It can also remove trace waste products such as urea, offering a minor but meaningful contribution to excretion. In this way, sweating is not only a cooling process, but also a form of cleansing, continuously renewing the skin's surface. The activity of sweat glands is controlled by the autonomic nervous system, which means it happens without conscious thought. We cannot will ourselves to sweat, though emotions and states of mind may influence it. Stress, fear, or anxiety can stimulate sweat production, particularly from apocrine glands, leading to what is often called nervous sweating. In this way, the integumentary system reflects not only the body's physical state, but also its emotional rhythms. To imagine the role of sweat glands, picture a network of tiny springs beneath the skin. When the body warms, these springs release droplets that rise to the surface, glistening for a moment before vanishing into the air, carrying heat with them. When emotions surge, the deeper springs stir, releasing their own secretions, subtle and quiet, mingling with the skin's natural presence. The springs are never empty, always ready, always adjusting to the needs of the body. Even now, as you rest, sweat glands are quietly at work. Though you may not feel it, they are releasing small amounts of moisture, maintaining balance in temperature and hydration. The eccrine glands are regulating the delicate equilibrium of heat, while the apocrine glands remain ready, responding to hormonal and emotional cues. All of this occurs silently, without effort, a continuous adjustment that supports life's steadiness. Sweat glands, in their simplicity, embody the elegance of the integumentary system. They are small, coiled structures, almost invisible, yet their influence is wide. They cool, they cleanse, they connect. They remind us that even the most modest structures may carry essential roles. As we continue our journey, we will turn to the sebaceous glands, tiny oil-producing companions of the hair follicles. While sweat glands release moisture to cool, sebaceous glands release oil to soften and protect, together forming a balanced partnership in the care of the skin. 11. Sebaceous glands, nature's moisturizer. Nestled within the skin, alongside the roots of hairs and scattered in select regions of the body, lie the sebaceous glands. These small, sac-like structures are often overlooked, yet they provide one of the skin's most important contributions to balance and health. The production of sebum, a natural oil that softens, protects, and preserves. To picture a sebaceous gland, imagine a tiny cluster of grapes, each rounded sac filled with cells, all connected to a short duct that opens into a hair follicle. The cells inside the gland produce sebum, filling themselves with oily droplets until they swell and eventually burst, releasing their contents. This process, known as holocrine secretion, means that the cell itself sacrifices its life to provide oil. New cells then form, replacing those that were lost, and the cycle continues, a quiet rhythm of creation, release, and renewal. Sebum is a unique mixture of lipids, including triglycerides, wax esters, squalene, and free fatty acids. Though invisible to the eye, it coats the hair and the surface of the skin, forming a thin, protective film. This film serves several purposes, all of which are essential for the harmony of the integumentary system. First, sebum acts as a moisturizer. Without it, skin would become dry, brittle, and prone to cracking. The oil helps to trap water within the skin, maintaining hydration and flexibility. Hair, too, relies on sebum for softness and sheen. A strand of hair without oil would quickly become rough, fragile, and easily broken. With oil, it remains smooth, resilient, and reflective of light. Second, sebum acts as a barrier. Its oily nature repels water, making the skin resistant to becoming waterlogged in humid conditions or when immersed. At the same time, its acidic quality contributes to what is called the acid mantle, a slightly acidic film on the skin's surface that discourages the growth of harmful bacteria while supporting beneficial microorganisms. In this way, sebum is not only a moisturizer but also part of the skin's defense system. Third, sebum provides flexibility and resilience. By coating the skin and hair, it reduces friction, allowing surfaces to glide against one another more smoothly. This is especially important in areas where skin folds or where hair is in constant motion. The oil keeps the integument supple, preventing wear from the endless motions of life. Sebaceous glands are found throughout most of the body, but they are most abundant on the scalp, face, chest, and upper back. They are absent on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet, where extra oil would interfere with grip. Their activity begins in childhood but increases dramatically at puberty under the influence of hormones, particularly androgens. This surge in sebum production contributes to the changes of adolescence, including the development of oily skin, and in some cases, acne. Acne arises when sebaceous glands produce excess oil, which can combine with dead skin cells to block follicles. Bacteria then thrive in the trapped environment, leading to inflammation. Though often temporary, this condition reflects the delicate balance required in sebum production. Too little oil leaves skin dry and fragile, while too much overwhelms its natural harmony. Despite these challenges, the importance of sebaceous glands cannot be overstated. They provide a quiet, continuous flow of moisture and protection, a natural conditioner for both skin and hair. Even now, as you rest, sebaceous glands are at work. Cells within their sacs are filling with oil, swelling until they release their contents. Sebum rises through follicles, spreads across the skin, and blends with sweat, together forming a thin emulsion that coats the surface. This mixture is subtle, unseen, yet it is the body's own lotion, produced from within, requiring no effort or thought. To imagine their role, think of a gentle wax that coats and preserves wood, keeping it supple and resistant to cracks. Or picture the oil on the surface of a leaf, which makes rainwater bead and roll away. Sebum plays a similar role for human skin, protecting it against dryness, water, and wear. Sebaceous glands are also reminders of the interconnectedness of the integumentary system. Though they are separate organs, they rarely act alone. Most open into hair follicles, sharing their secretions with the shafts that emerge to the surface. In this way, hair and oil work together, one providing a strand of protection and expression, the other maintaining its softness and strength. Even in hairless regions, where sebaceous glands open directly onto the skin, their work remains essential, blending with sweat to maintain the skin's natural environment. Over time, the activity of sebaceous glands changes. In infancy, sebaceous glands are active, influenced by maternal hormones, often producing temporary oiliness. During childhood, their activity diminishes, keeping the skin relatively dry. With puberty, they awaken once more, surging under hormonal influence. In adulthood, they settle into a steadier rhythm, though still responsive to hormones, diet, and environment. In later life, their activity may decline, contributing to drier, thinner skin. Thus, the sebaceous glands reflect the passage of time, their secretions rising and falling with the rhythms of growth, maturity, and age. Their oils, though small in amount, are deeply tied to life's stages. To appreciate their contribution, one need only consider what the skin would be without them: brittle, cracked, unprotected, vulnerable to invasion. With them, the skin remains supple, soft. The glands themselves are small, nearly invisible, yet their effect is vast, spreading across the entire surface of the body in a continuous film. And so, the sebaceous glands are nature's moisturizer, always present, always working. They remind us that the body carries within itself all that is needed for care and balance. Moisture, protection, flexibility, all are provided from within by these tiny sacs nestled quietly in the skin. As we continue our journey, we will turn to the third type of gland in the integumentary system, the scent glands, or modified sweat glands, whose secretions play a role in communication, intimacy, and the subtle signals that connect us to one another. 12. Scent glands, the silent communicators. Among the many structures of the integumentary system, some are subtle, almost hidden, yet they play roles that reach beyond protection and moisture. These are the scent glands, specialized types of sweat glands that contribute to communication in ways we may not always notice. While sweat cools the body and sebum keeps the skin supple, scent glands release secretions that can carry signals, quiet, invisible messages that connect us to one another and to the rhythms of life. The most familiar scent glands in humans are the apocrine sweat glands. We first encountered them in our exploration of sweat, but here we return to them, focusing on their role not in cooling the body, but in shaping presence and perception. Apocrine glands are concentrated in specific regions: the armpits, the groin, and around the nipples. Unlike eccrine glands, which open directly onto the skin, apocrine glands usually open into hair follicles. Their secretions are thicker, containing not only water and salts, but also proteins and lipids. On their own, apocrine secretions are nearly odorless. It is only when they meet the natural bacteria that live on the skin's surface that they take on a distinct scent. These scents vary subtly from person to person, influenced by genetics, diet, and hormones. Though often managed or masked in modern life, they carry quiet information. They can signal emotional states, cycles of fertility, or individual identity. In many mammals, scent glands are vital to communication. They mark territory, signal reproductive readiness, and strengthen social bonds. In humans, their role is less overt, but research suggests that scent still influences attraction, recognition, and even subconscious emotional responses. The apocrine glands, in this way, are reminders that we remain connected to the deeper animal rhythms of communication, even if in subtle and often unnoticed ways. One fascinating aspect of apocrine activity is its connection to emotions. Stress, fear, and excitement can trigger these glands, producing what we often call cold sweat. This is distinct from the cooling sweat of eccrine glands, as it carries a different composition and is often strongest in the armpits and palms. In times of tension or heightened emotion, scent becomes part of the body's natural response, a quiet signal of state and presence. Beyond apocrine glands, there are other modified scent glands in the body. The ceruminous glands, located in the ear canal, produce cerumen, or earwax. Though we may not think of earwax as a scent, it plays a role in both protection and subtle communication. Its sticky consistency traps dust and debris, while its slightly acidic, waxy composition helps deter microbial growth. Interestingly, the type of cerumen varies among populations. Some people produce wet, sticky earwax, while others produce dry, crumbly earwax. This difference is determined by genetics and reflects small variations in apocrine activity. Another specialized gland, the mammary gland, is technically a modified sweat gland as well. While its primary role is to produce milk, it also illustrates how glandular structures can evolve to serve nurturing and communicative purposes. Milk is not only nourishment but also a medium of comfort, bonding, and chemical signaling between parent and child. In this way, glands that began with secretion evolved into a cornerstone of survival and connection. The secretions of scent glands also contribute to the skin's microbiome. The mixture of oils, proteins, and moisture creates an environment where certain bacteria thrive. These microbes, in turn, produce byproducts that shape the scent we associate with the human body. Far from being a sign of impurity, this relationship is natural and balanced. The microbiome and the scent glands live in partnership, each influencing the other, together creating the quiet signature of each individual's presence. To imagine their role, Think of scent glands as soft whisperers, sending signals not in words or sounds, but in faint chemical traces. These traces drift unnoticed, yet they may shape how others perceive us, how we connect, and how we respond to one another. They are part of the invisible language of the body, a language that operates below the level of conscious awareness. Even now, as you rest, your apocrine glands are quietly present. Though inactive during sleep, they remain ready, responsive to hormonal signals and emotional states. At moments of stress or exertion, they will stir, releasing their secretions. These secretions will meet the skin's natural bacteria, creating scent, subtle but unique. It is a process that unfolds without thought, without effort, part of the body's quiet dialogue with the world. Scent glands also remind us that the integumentary system is not only about physical protection but also about connection. The skin is the boundary of the self, yet it is also a communicator, transmitting signals to others in ways both visible and invisible. Melanin expresses adaptation, hair expresses warmth and identity, nails extend precision, and scent carries silent messages. Each of these elements adds to the richness of the integumentary system, not only as a shield but as an organ of interaction. As life progresses, the activity of scent glands changes. In childhood, apocrine glands are present but inactive. With puberty, under the influence of hormones, they awaken, producing the secretions that give rise to adult scent. In later years, their activity may decline, altering the body's natural fragrance. This rhythm reflects the broader cycles of growth, maturity, and aging that flow through the integumentary system as a whole. Though often managed, minimized, or overlooked, scent is part of our natural presence. It is not an imperfection but an expression of life. It tells of activity within, of glands at work, of a body engaged with its environment. It is, in essence, a reminder that the skin is not only a barrier but also a voice, a soft, chemical voice that speaks without words. To appreciate this, imagine a forest at dawn. The air is filled with faint scents, the freshness of leaves, the dampness of earth, the sweetness of blossoms. Each scent is a signal, carrying information about growth, change, and presence. In the same way, the secretions of scent glands are part of the air around us, carrying quiet messages of who we are and how we live. As our journey continues, we will turn from the glands themselves to the nervous system of the skin, the fine network of nerves that allows us to feel touch, temperature, and pain, transforming the skin from a simple covering into a living sensor of the world. 13. Nerves in the skin. Touch, temperature, and pain. The skin is often thought of as a shield, a surface that guards the body from the outside world. Yet it is also something more, a sensitive instrument, finely tuned to detect the environment around us. Within its layers runs a vast network of nerves, tiny fibers that carry signals of touch, temperature, and pain. These signals rise quietly from the skin to the brain, allowing us to sense, respond, and adapt. In this way, the integumentary system is not only a barrier but also a gateway of perception. Beneath the surface, woven through the dermis and into the epidermis, lie endings of sensory nerves. Each is specialized, designed to detect a particular type of stimulus. Some respond to the slightest pressure, others to vibrations, others still to warmth or cold. Together, they create a living map of sensation, covering every inch of the body. One of the most important sensory receptors of the skin is the Merkel cell neurite complex, which we first encountered earlier in our journey. Found in the basal layer of the epidermis, these cells are connected to nerve endings that make them especially sensitive to light, steady pressure. They allow us to perceive fine details, such as the smoothness of a pebble or the pattern of fabric, Without Merkel cells, the sense of touch would be less refined, losing much of its subtlety. Deeper in the dermis, we find Meissner's corpuscles. These are small, oval structures located close to the surface, in regions especially sensitive to touch, such as the fingertips, lips, and palms. They are tuned to detect light, fluttering touches, and textures. Imagine running your hand over a page of braille, or feeling the faint brush of a feather. These sensations are brought to life by Meissner's corpuscles, which respond quickly to changes and allow us to detect movement across the skin. For deeper pressure and vibration, the skin contains Pacinian corpuscles. These are larger, onion-shaped structures found deeper in the dermis and hypodermis. They respond strongly to sudden changes, such as the vibration of tools or the firm press of contact. Pacinian corpuscles are especially important in detecting rapid movements and mechanical shifts, allowing us to adapt quickly to changing conditions. Another type of receptor, the Ruffini endings, are sensitive to stretching of the skin. They detect sustained pressure and the slow pulling of tissue, helping us sense the position of our body and movements of our joints. They are part of what is known as proprioception, the awareness of the body in space. Without them, our sense of posture and movement would be less precise. In addition to touch, the skin contains receptors for temperature. These are known as thermoreceptors, and they are scattered throughout the dermis. Some respond to warmth, others to coolness, each tuned to a particular range. Together, they allow the skin to sense changes in temperature with remarkable sensitivity. A drop of only 1 degree can be detected, guiding us to seek warmth, shade, or clothing as needed. Finally, the skin contains receptors for pain, known as nociceptors. Unlike the specialized receptors of touch and temperature, nociceptors are free nerve endings that respond to intense stimuli, sharp pressure, extreme heat, or chemical irritation. Though pain may seem unpleasant, it is essential, serving as the body's alarm system. It warns of damage, prompting withdrawal, protection, and healing. Without nociceptors, the body would be vulnerable to unnoticed harm. All of these receptors work in harmony, sending signals through nerves to the spinal cord and onward to the brain. The process is rapid, often occurring in fractions of a second. Yet the experience it creates is rich and varied. A single touch may involve multiple receptors, pressure detected by Merkel cells, vibration sensed by Pacinian corpuscles, warmth noted by thermoreceptors, all combined into one seamless perception. To imagine the role of these nerves, picture a field filled with countless blades of grass, each one swaying in response to the slightest movement of air. In the same way, the nerve endings of the skin respond to the faintest touch, the smallest shift, the gentlest change in temperature. The field is alive with signals, each one carried upward, interpreted, and transformed into sensation. Even now, as you rest, the nerves in your skin are active. They are detecting the softness of the surface beneath you, the flow of air across your face, the steady warmth of your body. They are monitoring temperature, ensuring balance, and remaining alert for sudden changes. Though you may not notice them, these nerves are always at work, maintaining awareness of the world outside while protecting the body within. The sensitivity of the skin varies across the body. The fingertips, lips, and face are especially rich in receptors, making them highly responsive to touch. The back, by contrast, has fewer receptors, and sensations there are less distinct. This distribution reflects the needs of the body. Areas most used for exploration and interaction are endowed with the greatest sensitivity. The nerves of the skin also connect deeply to emotion. A gentle touch may bring comfort, while cold air may prompt shivers, and pain may evoke alarm. These responses are not only physical but also emotional, reflecting the close connection between the nervous system and the mind. In this way, the skin is not merely an organ of sensation but also one of feeling, shaping our experience of the world. Over time, the activity of these receptors may change. With age, sensitivity often decreases. As receptors become fewer or less responsive, the skin may detect pressure and vibration less clearly, though the ability to sense pain often remains. Yet even as sensitivity shifts, the skin continues its role as the body's interface, a living surface that feels, protects, and communicates. To reflect on the nerves of the skin is to recognize how finely tuned the body is. Each receptor has its own purpose, its own range, its own contribution. Together, they transform the skin into a living map of perception, covering every inch of the body, responding to every change. They make the integumentary system not only a shield but also a bridge, linking the self to the world in a constant flow of sensation. As our journey continues, we will turn to the circulation of the skin, the quiet rivers of blood that nourish, warm, and color the surface, supporting its life and aiding in its endless renewal. 14. Blood vessels in the skin, the rivers beneath the surface. Beneath the visible surface of the skin lies a network so vital, so continuous, that it sustains every cell above it. These are the blood vessels of the skin, the silent rivers that flow through the dermis and hypodermis, carrying nourishment, warmth, and color. Though unseen, their presence is revealed in the soft flush of cheeks, the pale coolness of fingers on a cold day, or the warmth that spreads across the skin after exertion. The vessels of the skin are life-givers, maintaining balance moment by moment, adapting to both the needs of the body and the changes of the environment. The skin contains two main networks of blood vessels, arranged in layers like branching streams. The deeper network lies in the hypodermis, forming a broad, steady reservoir. From this foundation, vessels rise into the dermis, dividing into finer and finer branches, until they form the subpapillary plexus, a delicate mesh that lies just beneath the epidermis. It is from this network that tiny capillaries extend upward, coming as close as possible to the cells of the epidermis without crossing into it. Because the epidermis lacks its own blood supply, it relies on this network below. Nutrients, oxygen, and waste products must diffuse upward and downward between the dermis and the epidermis. The closeness of the capillaries ensures that, even without vessels of its own, the outer layer of skin remains nourished and alive. The blood vessels of the skin serve many roles. Their first and most essential is nourishment. Through them, glucose, amino acids, and oxygen reach the cells of the dermis and the lower layers of the epidermis, supporting growth and renewal. At the same time, carbon dioxide and other wastes are carried away, ensuring a clean and balanced environment. Their second role is temperature regulation. The skin is one of the body's key organs for maintaining internal warmth. When the body becomes too warm, blood vessels in the skin dilate, widening to allow greater blood flow. This brings warm blood closer to the surface, where heat can radiate away or be carried off by evaporating sweat. This is why the face may flush in the heat, and why skin feels warm during exertion. When the body becomes cold, the opposite occurs. The vessels constrict, narrowing to reduce blood flow near the surface. This preserves warmth by keeping blood deeper in the body, close to the core. The skin may appear pale, even bluish, as blood is drawn inward. In this way, the vessels act like adjustable channels, widening or narrowing to protect the delicate balance of temperature within. A third role of the skin's vessels is healing. When the skin is injured, blood rushes to the site, carrying immune cells, clotting factors, and nutrients. The area may appear red and warm as vessels dilate, providing the supplies needed for repair. Clotting begins, inflammation arises, and tissue is gradually restored. Without this response, the skin would be unable to mend itself, and the body would remain vulnerable to invasion. The blood vessels also play a role in the color of the skin. Though melanin is the primary determinant of tone, the presence of blood just beneath the surface adds a subtle hue. Well-oxygenated blood gives the skin a healthy pinkness, especially visible in lighter skin tones. Reduced oxygen, by contrast, can lead to a bluish cast, known as cyanosis. Flushing, pallor, and other shifts in skin color often reflect changes in circulation, offering clues to the state of the body within. To imagine this system, picture a branching river flowing through fertile land. At its widest channels, it moves steadily and powerfully. As it branches into streams and rivulets, it nourishes every patch of ground, reaching into every corner. When the land becomes dry, the river swells, bringing moisture. When storms threaten, the channels tighten, preserving what is needed. In much the same way, the vessels of the skin carry life to every cell, adapting fluidly to need and circumstance. Even now, as you rest, blood is flowing quietly beneath your skin. It carries oxygen from the lungs, energy from the food you have eaten, warmth from the core of the body. It adjusts moment by moment, narrowing in the coolness of the night, widening in the warmth of the day, responding to the smallest shifts. It is a river without rest, continuous and unbroken, sustaining life with every heartbeat. The arrangement of blood vessels in the skin also supports the work of sweat glands and sebaceous glands. When blood flow increases, more warmth reaches the sweat glands, encouraging secretion and cooling. The sebaceous glands, too, are nourished by these vessels, their oil-producing cells relying on the steady delivery of energy. Thus, the vessels do not work in isolation, but in harmony with every structure of the skin. Over time, the vessels of the skin change. In youth, they are flexible and responsive, adjusting quickly to needs. With age, they may stiffen or narrow, reducing their adaptability. This can lead to drier skin, slower healing, and altered color. Yet, even then, they continue their work, carrying what is needed, sustaining the integumentary system as faithfully as ever. The importance of circulation in the skin can be seen in small everyday moments. The warmth of flushed cheeks in laughter, the coolness of hands in winter air, the redness that fades after pressure, all are signs of vessels opening and closing, responding to life's constant changes. They are silent, unnoticed, yet always present, guiding balance with every beat of the heart. To reflect on the blood vessels of the skin is to recognize how deeply connected we are, not only to the body within, but also to the environment without. Every shift in temperature, every touch of air, every effort of movement is answered by the rivers beneath the surface, rising and falling, widening and narrowing, adapting in perfect rhythm. As our journey continues, we will turn to another quiet function of the integumentary system, the immune defense of the skin. For even as it nourishes, warms, and senses, the skin also defends, housing cells that guard against invasion and keep the body safe from the countless microorganisms that dwell in the world around us. 15. Immune defenses of the skin, guardians at the gate. The skin, at first glance, appears to be a quiet surface, smooth, continuous, and still. Yet beneath this calm exterior lies an active frontier, one of the body's most important lines of defense. Every moment, the skin encounters the outside world. Dust, pollen, bacteria, fungi, and viruses brush against it. Tiny abrasions, invisible to the eye, open small passages. And yet, despite this constant exposure, the body remains safe. This safety is due in large part to the immune defenses of the skin, the guardians at the gate who watch, detect, and respond to potential threats. The skin is not only a physical barrier, but also a living immune organ. Within its layers reside cells of the immune system, each specialized in recognition and defense. These cells patrol quietly, awaiting signals of danger. When a threat appears, they respond swiftly, activating cascades of protection that keep the body intact. One of the most important immune cells in the skin is the Langerhans cell, found in the epidermis. These cells extend long, delicate processes between keratinocytes, like branches of a tree reaching outward. Their role is to act as sentinels, constantly sampling their environment for signs of invaders. When they detect foreign material, a viral particle, a bacterium, or a harmful chemical, they capture it and migrate deeper into the body, carrying it to nearby lymph nodes. There, they present the invader to other immune cells, activating a broader response. In this way, Langerhans cells are like scouts, moving between the skin and the immune system, linking the outer boundary to the body's inner defenses. Within the dermis, other immune cells reside. Macrophages wander through the tissue, engulfing debris, damaged cells, and microorganisms. Their name means big eaters, and this is exactly what they do. They consume and digest unwanted particles, keeping the skin clear and safe. At the same time, they release signals that call other immune cells to areas of need, orchestrating the response. Alongside macrophages are mast cells, which play a central role in inflammation. When activated, they release histamine and other chemicals, increasing blood flow and making blood vessels more permeable. This allows immune cells to move quickly into affected areas, but it also causes familiar signs: redness, warmth, and swelling. Though sometimes uncomfortable, this response is essential, creating an environment that fights infection and supports healing. The skin also contains T cells, specialized lymphocytes that provide targeted defense. Some patrol steadily, recognizing infected or abnormal cells and destroying them. Others provide memory, recalling past encounters and preparing for future ones. This memory explains why certain exposures lead to lasting immunity. The skin, like the rest of the immune system, can learn from experience. Beyond its cellular defenses, the skin also maintains chemical barriers. The slightly acidic environment of the skin, known as the acid mantle, discourages harmful bacteria while supporting beneficial microbes. Sebum, produced by sebaceous glands, contains fatty acids that inhibit pathogens. Sweat, too, contains antimicrobial peptides, small proteins that disrupt microbial membranes. Together, these secretions create a surface that is not only protective by structure, but also actively hostile to invaders. Equally important is the microbiome of the skin, the community of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that naturally inhabit it. Far from being harmful, most of these organisms are beneficial. They occupy space and use resources, leaving little room for dangerous microbes to take hold. They also interact with the immune system, training it to respond appropriately. In this way, the microbiome is not a threat, but an ally, a living shield that works in harmony with the skin's own defenses. To imagine the immune defenses of the skin, think of a quiet village with watchtowers, patrols, and guardians at the gates. The walls themselves are strong, but it is the vigilance of the sentinels that ensures safety. Scouts move out to detect threats. Messengers carry news to the heart of the village, and defenders respond swiftly when danger approaches. Most days, the gates remain calm, and life continues undisturbed. But always, the guardians are there, ready. Even now, as you rest, your skin's defenses are at work. Langerhans cells are watching, macrophages are cleaning, mast cells are waiting, and T cells are remembering. Secretions from glands are spreading across the surface, maintaining the acid mantle. Microbes are living in balance, forming a protective layer of companionship. The system is vast, continuous, and unceasing, ensuring that the body remains safe, even in moments of stillness. The immune role of the skin is most visible in times of injury or irritation. A small cut may redden and swell as blood vessels open and immune cells rush in. A rash may form as mast cells release histamine, responding to allergens or irritants. These reactions, though sometimes bothersome, are signs of the skin's vigilance. They are proof that the guardians are awake, active, and attentive to their duties. Over the course of life, the immune defenses of the skin change. In infancy, the system is still developing, learning to distinguish friend from foe. With time, it strengthens, building memory and resilience. In older age, the system may weaken, responding less vigorously, which is why the skin becomes more vulnerable to infection and slower to heal. Yet even then, the guardians remain, continuing their work with quiet persistence. To reflect on the immune defenses of the skin is to see the integument not only as a covering, but as a living community, cells, chemicals, and microbes working together in harmony. It is a reminder that safety is not the work of a single structure, but of countless small actions carried out ceaselessly, invisibly, with precision and care. As our journey continues, we will turn to the healing of the skin, the process by which it mends itself after injury. For just as the immune cells guard against harm, the skin itself possesses remarkable powers of renewal, closing wounds, restoring structure, and returning to wholeness. 16. Healing and renewal. The skin's repair process. The skin, though resilient and protective, is never entirely free from harm. Every day it faces interruptions both small and large: a shallow scratch on the arm, a scrape from a fall, the sting of a burn, or the slow wear of dryness and sun. What makes the integumentary system extraordinary is not that it avoids injury, but that it has the quiet power to restore itself after disruption. Healing is not sudden or forceful, but rather a steady, patient unfolding. It begins the moment the skin is broken and continues with precision until balance and integrity are restored. This rhythm is as ancient as life itself, a cycle that has carried on for countless generations, allowing the body to endure the challenges of the world while always returning to wholeness. The first step in healing occurs almost immediately after injury, long before the wound is even noticed. Blood vessels in the damaged area constrict, slowing the flow of blood, while platelets, the small, disc-like fragments circulating in the bloodstream, rush to the site. They gather quickly, clustering together to form a temporary barrier. At the same time, they release chemical signals that summon reinforcements. A protein called fibrin spreads across the wound, weaving a delicate net that stabilizes the area and holds the platelets in place. This structure forms a clot, and from the outside it soon hardens into a scab, sealing the surface and protecting what lies beneath. This step, known as hemostasis, is the body's first defense against blood loss and invasion, a quiet yet vital beginning to the repair process. Once bleeding has been contained, the body shifts to its next phase: inflammation. Far from being harmful, inflammation is the skin's natural cleansing stage. Blood vessels widen again, allowing more fluid and immune cells to move into the area. The skin may appear red and feel warm, and swelling may follow, all of which are signs of this increased activity. Immune cells such as neutrophils arrive first, consuming bacteria and clearing away damaged tissue. Soon after, macrophages join them, engulfing debris and releasing signals that guide other cells to the site. Though inflammation can cause discomfort, it is a necessary stage, for it prepares the wound for growth by ensuring that it is clean, safe, and free of harmful invaders. After the wound has been cleared, the phase of rebuilding begins. This is when new tissue takes shape in a process known as proliferation. Fibroblasts, the repair cells of the dermis, migrate into the wound and begin producing collagen, the fibrous protein that provides strength and structure. As they work, tiny new blood vessels sprout into the area, bringing oxygen and nutrients. The wound, once raw and empty, becomes filled with granulation tissue, a fragile, pink layer that signals new life. At the same time, keratinocytes from the edges of the wound move inward across this tissue, covering it gradually with new epidermis. Day by day, The gap closes, the edges draw together, and the surface is restored, even when a wound appears healed to the eye. The process continues beneath the surface in the final phase, remodeling. Collagen fibers, laid down quickly during proliferation, are reorganized and strengthened. What began as a haphazard scaffold is refined into a more ordered structure, one that restores resilience and stability. Blood vessels that are no longer needed begin to fade, leaving the area paler and calmer. The scar that remains may lack hair follicles, sweat glands, or the same elasticity as the surrounding skin, but it is strong and protective. It is a mark of restoration, a memory of injury that has been transformed into survival. Beyond visible wounds, the skin carries out renewal every day in small, quiet ways. Keratinocytes are constantly produced in the basal layer of the epidermis, rising slowly toward the surface, flattening, and eventually shedding. This cycle takes about a month to complete, meaning that the skin you touch today is not the same skin that will cover you a month from now. This daily renewal is a form of healing on a smaller scale, an ongoing act of replacement and renewal that keeps the barrier fresh, resilient, and ready for the challenges of the world. The ability of the skin to heal is influenced by age, health, and environment. In youth, wounds tend to close quickly, and scars may fade with time. In later years, the process slows. Blood vessels respond less readily, fibroblasts work more gradually, and collagen is produced in smaller amounts. Healing may take longer, and scars may be more prominent. Nutrition, rest, and overall wellness also play important roles. For proteins and vitamins provide the building blocks of new tissue, circulation carries the necessary supplies, and rest allows the body to direct its energy inward. Healing, then, is never the work of the skin alone, but of the entire body in harmony. To reflect on this process is to see not only biology but also resilience. Every wound tells the story of interruption, but the direction of healing is always toward wholeness. Scars may remain as reminders, but beneath them lies the deeper truth. The skin never stops seeking balance. Just as a meadow recovers after a storm, with new shoots rising to cover the disturbed soil, the skin restores itself, changed yet whole, bearing the memory of harm within the strength of its repair. Even now, as you rest, your skin may be carrying out small acts of renewal. A tiny scratch may be clotting, a patch of irritation may be calming, or cells at the surface may be shedding while new ones rise to replace them. These processes unfold silently, without demand, without conscious effort. They are acts of patience, acts of rhythm, acts of life. The skin heals not with haste but with certainty, guided by the timeless wisdom of its design, returning again and again to the quiet balance of health. As our journey continues, we will turn from the process of repair to the messages carried upon the skin itself. For the integument is more than a shield or a healer. It is also a mirror of health, a surface that reflects the state of the body within, offering quiet signs of balance, illness, vitality, and change. 17. The skin is a mirror of health, what it reveals about the body. The skin is often described as the body's largest organ, but it is also one of its most expressive. More than simply a covering, it reflects the state of the body within, offering visible clues about health, balance, and change. Every flush of color, every mark, every subtle shift in texture carries information, revealing the inner rhythms of the body on its outer surface. For physicians and healers throughout history, the skin has been a canvas of signs, a mirror that reflects the conditions of blood, hormones, circulation, and immunity. To observe the skin is to glimpse the state of life itself. One of the most immediate ways the skin reveals health is through its color. The tone of the skin is shaped by melanin, but it is also influenced by blood vessels and oxygen levels beneath the surface. When circulation increases, as in warmth, exertion, or emotion, the skin may flush with a healthy pink or red glow. When circulation decreases, as in cold or shock, the skin may appear pale. In conditions where oxygen is reduced, the skin may take on a bluish hue, a sign known as cyanosis. Yellowing of the skin, or jaundice, often signals a buildup of bilirubin, reflecting changes in the liver or red blood cells. Each of these shifts, though subtle, is a message from within, carried quietly to the surface. The moisture and texture of the skin also carry meaning. A well-hydrated body is reflected in skin that is supple and resilient, while dehydration may leave it dry, rough, or less elastic. Excess oil may suggest overactive sebaceous glands, often influenced by hormones, while dryness may signal aging, environmental stress, or underlying imbalance. The smoothness or roughness of the skin, the presence of flaking, or the formation of thickened patches all provide gentle signs of how the body is responding to its environment. Temperature, too, plays its part. The warmth or coolness of the skin often mirrors the body's circulation and metabolic activity. Fever may warm the skin as blood vessels dilate to release heat, while poor circulation may cool the extremities. Clammy skin, both damp and cool, may reflect stress or illness. Each sensation beneath the touch of a hand carries a message, subtle but meaningful, about the state of the body within. Beyond these immediate signs, the skin also reflects longer-term patterns of health. Persistent dryness may signal conditions of the thyroid or metabolism. Chronic redness may reflect inflammatory states. The appearance of rashes, spots, or lesions often signals immune responses to allergens, infections, or internal imbalances. Even the lines and folds of aging are not merely marks of time, but also records of how the skin has faced sunlight, hydration, and care across the years. The skin is also closely tied to the body's hormonal systems. During adolescence, changes in hormones stimulate sebaceous glands, increasing oil production and often leading to acne. During pregnancy, shifts in hormones may cause darkening of the skin in certain areas, known as melasma. In later years, with declining hormones, the skin may become thinner, drier, and more fragile. These changes are not faults of the skin but reflections of the deeper rhythms of life, written softly upon the surface. Another way the skin reveals health is through its relationship with the immune system. Infections may appear as redness, swelling, or pus-filled lesions. Allergic reactions may cause hives, itching, or rashes. Autoimmune conditions may alter pigmentation or cause scaly patches. Even subtle irritations are reminders of the skin's role as a sentinel, reacting not only to what touches it from without but also to signals that rise from within. The skin also reflects the state of nutrition. Deficiencies in vitamins and minerals often appear on the surface. A lack of vitamin C, for example, may lead to fragile blood vessels and easy bruising. A lack of vitamin A may cause rough, dry patches. Iron deficiency may pale the skin, while excesses of certain nutrients may cause changes as well. In this way, the diet of the body writes itself onto the skin, making the outer surface a visible record of the nourishment received within. Even emotional states leave their traces. Fear may drain the skin of color, leaving it pale, while embarrassment may bring a flush to the cheeks. Anxiety may bring sweat, even in the absence of heat. Stress over time may leave its imprint through tension lines, dryness, or irritation. The skin is not only an organ of biology, but also one of feeling, reflecting the shifts of the mind as surely as the shifts of the blood. To imagine the skin as a mirror of health is to see it as a window between worlds, the inner world of organs, blood, and hormones, and the outer world of light, air, and touch. It stands between, reflecting both directions at once. Just as a riverbank shows the level of water flowing beneath it, the skin shows the level of life flowing within. Even without words, it tells its story in color, in warmth, in texture, and in change. Even now, as you rest, Your skin is quietly reflecting your state of being. Its tone, its softness, its warmth are all shaped by the nourishment you have received, the air you breathe, the circulation of your blood, and the calmness of your heart. It is not static, but alive, changing moment by moment, carrying the imprint of the body within and the environment without. For healers across cultures and centuries, the skin has always been a guide. Ancient physicians studied its color, moisture, and marks to understand the balance of the body. Modern medicine continues this tradition, reading the surface for signs of circulation, immunity, and nutrition. Though the tools may have changed, the principle remains the same. The skin is more than a covering. It is a reflection, a quiet storyteller of the body's hidden life. As we move further in our journey, we will turn at last to the broader meaning of the integumentary system itself. For beyond its layers, its cells, its vessels, and its defenses, the skin is the meeting point of the self and the world, the place where life within greets the universe without. It is both shield and communicator, healer and mirror, a companion through every stage of existence, carrying us gently from birth to age, from youth to rest. 18. The skin and the senses, our connection to the world. The skin is more than a covering. It is a living organ of perception. Every moment it receives signals from the environment, translating them into sensations that flow quietly into the nervous system. These signals are not only protective but also connective, allowing the body to experience the world in ways both subtle and profound. Through the skin, we feel the softness of fabric, the warmth of sunlight, the coolness of evening air, and the gentle pressure of another's touch. It is an organ of contact and relationship, reminding us constantly of the boundary between self and world, while at the same time softening that boundary by drawing us into connection with all that surrounds us. Within the skin lie countless nerve endings, each specialized to detect particular kinds of stimuli. Some respond to the lightest brush, so faint that the movement of air across a hair is enough to activate them. Others respond to deeper pressure, telling us when we are leaning against a surface or carrying weight. Still others respond to vibration, alerting us to subtle movements and textures. These receptors, each tuned to its own range, work together to create a map of sensation. It is as though the body is wrapped in an invisible net, sensitive to every shift in temperature, pressure, and movement, always aware, always listening. Temperature is one of the most vital senses carried by the skin. Specialized thermoreceptors detect warmth and coolness, responding even to changes of a degree. This sensitivity guides behavior in ways we seldom notice. A sudden chill may draw us to seek shelter or cover, while the pleasant warmth of the sun may lead us to rest in its glow. These responses are not simply comfort-seeking, but essential acts of balance, ensuring that the body remains within its safe range, avoiding harm from extremes of heat or cold. In this way, the skin is a guardian as well as a sensor, alerting us to changes before they become dangerous. Equally important is the perception of pain. Though often unwelcome, pain is one of the body's most vital signals. It warns of injury, pressure, or heat, strong enough to cause harm. The receptors that carry pain, known as nociceptors, are simple in form but powerful in function. They are found in nearly every part of the skin, always on watch. When activated, they send signals that rise quickly to the brain, prompting withdrawal, protection, and care. Pain is not a flaw of the skin, but its deepest safeguard, a reminder of the fragility of the body and the care it requires. Touch itself is perhaps the most familiar sense of the skin, yet it is also the most layered. A gentle stroke activates one type of receptor, a firm grasp another. A quick vibration is carried by yet another, while a steady stretch of the surface engages still others. Together, these sensations allow the body not only to recognize contact, but to discern texture, weight, and shape. Through the fingertips, where receptors are most densely packed, we are able to distinguish the weave of cloth, the ridges of stone, or the grain of wood. The skin is not only a protector but also a reader of the world, interpreting its details with remarkable precision. Beyond the physical, touch carries deep emotional significance. A gentle hand on the shoulder, the warmth of holding another's palm, or the embrace of comfort all pass through the receptors of the skin. These sensations travel to the brain, where they are not only registered but also associated with safety, affection, and connection. In this way, the skin becomes not only an organ of sensation but also an organ of emotion, carrying messages of closeness and care as surely as it carries signals of pressure or heat. The arrangement of sensory nerves across the skin is not uniform. Some areas, like the fingertips, lips, and face, are rich in receptors, making them extraordinarily sensitive. Other areas, such as the back, are less densely supplied, giving them less precision. This distribution reflects the needs of the body. Areas used for exploration, communication, and expression are endowed with the greatest sensitivity, while others serve more protective roles. Together, the pattern creates a balance, ensuring that the body is both aware and efficient, sensitive where it must be, and calm where it may be. The connection between the skin and the senses extends into memory. A familiar texture or temperature can call forth a moment from the past. The feel of warm sand recalling a summer's day, the cool touch of stone bringing to mind a shaded path. These associations remind us that sensation is not isolated but woven into the fabric of experience. The skin, through its receptors, links the present to memory, grounding us in the continuity of life. Even now, as you rest, your skin is quietly sensing. It feels the softness of the surface beneath you, the weight of the blanket, the flow of air across your face. Its receptors remain active, alert yet gentle, sending signals of comfort and calm. Though you may not notice them, they shape your awareness of the present, creating a quiet sense of place and safety. The skin does not cease its work in stillness. It continues to listen, to guard, and to connect, even in the quiet of night. To reflect on the skin as a sensory organ is to see it as more than a boundary. It is the meeting point of self and world, a living interface that receives and interprets the touch of air, the warmth of light, and the pressure of contact. It is both shield and translator, protecting the body from harm while opening it to the richness of experience. Without the skin's senses, the world would be distant, abstract, and cold. With them, it becomes immediate, intimate, and alive. As our journey moves forward, we will turn to the closing reflections on the integumentary system as a whole. Having explored its layers, its cells, its vessels, and its senses, we will look at the ways this remarkable organ accompanies us through every stage of life, from the first moments of infancy to the lasting marks of age, always shielding, always renewing, always connecting. 19. The skin across a lifetime, from birth to old age. The story of the skin is not fixed. Like the body it belongs to, it changes over time, reflecting each stage of life with quiet adaptation. From the first moments of birth to the final years of age, the skin evolves, carrying the marks of growth, memory, and experience. It is a living record, bearing both the resilience of renewal and the gentle traces of time. To follow the skin across a lifetime is to see how the integumentary system accompanies us faithfully through every season of existence. At birth, the skin is soft, delicate, and thin. It is covered at first by a substance known as vernix caseosa, a waxy layer that protects the infant in the womb and eases the passage into the world. Newborn skin is highly sensitive, adjusting for the first time to the air, the touch of fabric, the presence of light and sound. Its barrier is not yet fully mature, which is why it is more vulnerable to dryness, irritation, and infection. Still, The skin of infancy possesses remarkable powers of repair, and its sensitivity plays an important role in bonding, as gentle touch provides comfort, warmth, and connection. As childhood unfolds, the skin strengthens and becomes more resilient. Its cells renew rapidly, and wounds tend to heal with little scarring. The glands that produce oil and sweat are present but not yet highly active, which often leaves the skin smooth and free of blemishes. This is the stage when the skin becomes a canvas of exploration, acquiring small scrapes and marks from play, each one healing quickly, often leaving no trace. The rapid renewal of childhood skin mirrors the energy of growth, reflecting the body's focus on building, learning, and expanding into the world. With the arrival of adolescence, the skin undergoes striking changes. Hormones surge, stimulating the sebaceous glands to produce more oil. Hair follicles respond as well, leading to increased growth in new areas of the body. These changes, though natural, often bring challenges, such as acne, as pores become clogged with oil and cells. For many, this stage is the first time the skin seems unpredictable, shifting rapidly in texture and appearance. Yet even here, the skin remains a faithful mirror of the body's inner transitions, revealing the powerful influence of hormones and the passage into adulthood. In early adulthood, the skin often reaches its balance. Its renewal remains efficient. Collagen and elastin fibers are strong, and wounds still heal relatively quickly. This is a period when the skin reflects vitality and health, with its tone and resilience at their peak. Yet even at this stage, the first subtle signs of aging may appear, especially in areas exposed to the sun. Fine lines, faint changes in pigmentation, and small irregularities begin to show, gentle reminders that the skin, like all living tissue, carries the imprint of time. As adulthood progresses, the skin gradually changes. Collagen production begins to slow, elastin fibers lose some of their spring, and the renewal of keratinocytes becomes less rapid. The skin may become thinner, drier, or less elastic. Wrinkles deepen in areas of expression, and pigmentation may become uneven, forming spots or patches. Hair follicles, too, respond to time, with some producing finer hair or ceasing altogether, while others shift in color. These changes are not sudden but gradual, unfolding across years in a rhythm that reflects both genetics and lifestyle. The skin becomes a diary of habits, sun exposure, nourishment, and care, carrying the quiet story of how the body has lived. In older age, the transformations continue. The skin becomes thinner and more fragile, more prone to bruising, and slower to heal. The fat in the hypodermis diminishes, reducing cushioning and insulation, which may leave the skin cooler and more delicate. Glands that produce oil and sweat become less active, leading to dryness. The surface may show lines, folds, and marks that reflect decades of expression and movement, each one a reminder of time's passage. Yet, even in this stage, the skin continues its work as barrier, sensor, and protector, guarding the body as faithfully as it did in infancy. The changes of aging are often visible, but they are not merely signs of decline. They are also records of resilience. Every scar marks a healed wound. Every line reflects years of expression, laughter, frowning, surprise, thought. Every change of tone or texture speaks of the countless ways the skin has adapted to light, air, and touch. To see the skin of age is to see not only the passing of time but also the endurance of life. Throughout the lifetime, the skin does more than protect and reflect the body. It carries memory in physical form. Scars tell the story of accidents and recoveries. Freckles and marks record hours spent in sunlight. Stretch marks reveal periods of rapid growth or change. Each feature of the skin is a quiet chronicle, a reminder that life leaves its trace, not only in memory, but also in the living tissue of the body. Even now, as you rest, your skin is quietly continuing its journey. Cells are being replaced, oils are being secreted, and blood is nourishing the tissue. Whether young or old, the process remains the same. Steady and patient, an endless cycle of renewal. The changes of a lifetime do not alter this rhythm. They only shape the pace and texture of its unfolding. The skin is constant in its devotion, even as it evolves with every year, every stage, every moment of being. To reflect on the skin across a lifetime is to recognize it as both shield and storyteller. It guards the body from harm while also recording the marks of experience. It changes, but it never ceases its work. It ages, but it remains faithful to its role. From the delicate skin of a newborn to the lined and seasoned skin of age, it is always the same organ, carrying the same tasks, bearing the same quiet wisdom. It is both fragile and enduring, a companion from the first breath to the last. As we near the close of our journey through the integumentary system, we will turn to one final reflection, the meaning of the skin as a whole. For beyond its layers, its cells, its vessels, and its senses, the skin is the place where life meets the world, where the self finds its connection to the environment around it, and where the story of a lifetime is written gently upon the surface of the body. 20. Closing reflections. The skin as our living companion. The journey through the integumentary system leads us at last to reflection, to a quiet pause in which we consider the meaning of this vast and faithful organ as a whole. We have traced its layers from the outermost epidermis to the deeper dermis and hypodermis. We have explored its glands, its blood vessels, its nerves, its defenses, and its senses. We have seen how it heals, how it renews itself, how it reveals the health of the body within, and how it changes across the span of a lifetime. Now, as we draw our exploration to a close, it is time to see the skin not as a collection of structures, but as a companion one that is with us from the first moment of life to the last, guarding us, connecting us, and reflecting us at every stage along the way. The skin is often thought of as a boundary, a surface that separates the self from the world. Yet, in truth, it is both barrier and bridge. It protects us from harm, shielding us from countless dangers, from pathogens to ultraviolet light, from physical injury to chemical exposure. At the same time, it opens us to the environment, allowing us to feel the warmth of sunlight, the coolness of air, the pressure of touch, and the comfort of connection. It is where self and world meet, where the internal and external are not separate but intertwined. Through the skin, we are reminded that life is not isolation but relationship, that the body exists not apart from its surroundings but in constant conversation with them. The skin is also a record keeper. Every mark, every scar, every line is part of the story of a lifetime. The freckles left by childhood summers, the faint scars of accidents long past, the lines deepened by years of expression, all are part of its tapestry. These changes may not always be welcomed, yet they carry beauty in their honesty. They remind us that life leaves its trace, that the body remembers its journey, and that experience is woven into the very surface of our being. To look upon the skin is to look upon a living chronicle, one that tells of both resilience and fragility, of both change and continuity. The skin is not only physical but also symbolic. Across cultures and throughout history, it has been a canvas of identity and meaning. It carries the tones and shades that reflect ancestry and heritage. It bears markings, whether natural or chosen, that tell of belonging, tradition, and expression. It communicates health, emotion, and vitality. A blush may reveal shyness, pallor may reveal fatigue, radiance may reflect wellness. The skin speaks even when words are absent, offering messages that are as subtle as they are profound. Perhaps most remarkable of all is the skin's quiet constancy. Every moment it is working, though we seldom notice it. Cells are dividing, oils are spreading, blood is flowing, and nerves are sensing. Even now, as you lie in stillness, your skin is alive with activity. It is protecting you, renewing you, and connecting you to the space around you. It does this without demand for attention, without pause, without fail. It is a companion so constant that we often forget it is there, yet it is always with us, faithful and enduring. To reflect on the skin is also to recognize the harmony of the body as a whole. The integumentary system does not stand alone. It works with every other system. It depends on the circulation of the blood, the nourishment of the digestive system, the signals of the nervous system, and the balance of the endocrine system. In turn, it supports them all, defending against invaders, maintaining temperature, and providing the sense of touch. It is part of the greater unity of the body, one thread in the intricate fabric of life, inseparable from the whole. Even as the skin changes with age, its role remains the same. It is with us in the freshness of infancy, in the growth of youth, in the maturity of adulthood, and in the gentleness of age. It adjusts, it adapts, it carries us through. The lines that deepen and the marks that remain are not flaws but signs of endurance, reminders that the skin has walked every step of the journey with us, carrying the memory of a lifetime. To imagine the skin as a companion is to see it with gratitude. It is more than a surface, more than a shell. It is a living part of us, a silent protector, a patient healer, a communicator, and a storyteller. It is at once the most visible and the most overlooked of organs, present in every moment, yet seldom given thought. And yet, without it, life as we know it could not exist. As our exploration comes to a close, let us rest in the recognition of this quiet truth. The skin is both shield and bridge, healer and mirror, organ and symbol. It is a companion that remains with us in every season, in every change, in every moment of being. To know the skin is to know something essential about life itself, that protection and connection, resilience and fragility, change and constancy are not opposites, but partners, woven together in harmony. Even now, as the night surrounds you, your skin is keeping watch. It feels the air upon its surface. It senses the weight of rest. It nourishes and renews itself in silence. It does so without effort, without request, carrying out its tasks faithfully as you drift toward sleep. It is the quiet companion of your life, the meeting place of self and world, the story written gently upon the body, the presence that never leaves. And so our journey through the integumentary system comes to rest. We have moved from the outermost layers to the deepest foundations, from cells to vessels, from healing to renewal, from birth to age. What remains is not only knowledge, but also wonder, the recognition that the skin, so familiar and so overlooked, is in truth extraordinary. It is both armor and translator, both record and reflection, both the surface and the depth. It is, and always will be, our living companion.